Alrighty, guys, we are back. We are here with we got Christo. Ricky.
I was mid-drink.
Oh my
keep going.
Hey, I do the alrighty, guys. All right? And then we got Ben on the podcast right now. I'm doing this with my boy. Woo. And the first topic we're just kind of go about it is like pretty much how did your guys' week go, and then we'll kind of go into the topic.
I shaved my head last night.
Yeah, you're full skater mode.
Bricks, I know. My son has had a shaved head for a while now, and I was like, oh, I like the way it looks, and it's just like. His reason for cutting it was he was sick of doing his hair. And I was like, I've been really sick of doing my hair lately. I'm tired of like keeping up with Chris and trying to look all handsome. So I'm like, I'm just shaving it. But funny enough, I think my whole family like genuinely likes it better. My daughter said it makes me look like I'm a college huzz, which is like
huzz.
Huzz is like a word that the kids use these days for like a good-looking dude. She's like, you look like a college huzz. And I was like, oh, all right. Thanks for the compliment.
You do look very different.
Do I?
I'm telling you, it's like
different.
Top Gun vibes all the way. I don't know what it is.
Does it make you look younger? Maybe.
I don't know.
For sure. Maybe look a little younger.
Maybe. Something.
But I have long hair, and I will tell you, it is a pain after a while.
Yeah.
I shed like crazy. I have to like comb this all the time. But I also don't get haircuts. Natalie, my wife, cuts my hair too.
Oh, she does?
Yeah.
But how often?
Man, lately, not that often. Maybe as I've gotten older, it takes like months for it to grow. So not very often.
Yeah.
But it is a pain.
So other recent news. You're a big concert guy.
I am, yeah.
I went to a concert recently. Before I talk about it, what's your like best concert you've ever been to?
Mine? Oh, man.
I know you're a Deftones man.
Yeah, I was most recently at Deftones, which was one of the... Dude, what? Get out of here, bro.
Before you talk about Deftones, I just want to say that Chris did offer for a lot of people to go for free, and me and Blake both said, "Who are they?"
To the Deftones?
Yeah,
the invite?
Deftones.
I mean, those are
expensive.
expensive.
That old, are they?
Nah, Chris,
Deftones have been around since the 90s.
Was it a whites-only invite?
No.
Me and Ricky didn't get it.
I didn't get an invite.
You're just a tanned white.
I'm pretty sure Chris offered it to the group and was like, "Hey, does anybody want to go?"
I might have, yeah. I mean, Deftones have been around since the 90s. I was listening to them in high school. They kind of transfer over. They're a generational band, which a lot of bands from the 90s aren't. You know, not many kids, I think, today are listening to Korn. Maybe some are, but the kids nowadays seem to love Deftones.
Yeah.
That concert was really good. This was only like a month ago. It was at the Forum in Irvine. And it was really good because the crowd, for people that were amped, it wasn't a bunch of old guys. You know what I mean? With like a band that's like, oh God, this thing, like, here we go, last leg of Deftones, you know? Like, there was like 20-year-olds that are like, yeah, like, let's go. And like teenagers, and my son, who's 15, mixed with the old heads. So I'd never been to a concert that was actually so
diverse.
Generational.
Nice.
Yeah.
We saw that footage you sent of your son, and it was cool to see him like genuinely hyped.
Oh, he loved it.
When you were showing him the footage of him, he was like, yeah. Like,
He had never been to a concert, so that was his first concert. And
wow.
his face when he left, he goes, Dad, he's like, I kind of had expectations of what that was going to be like. He's like, that blew my mind away. Like what that concert was like.
Dude,
yeah. So it was super cool, but that would not, can I say what that was not mine is actually going back to the 90s, seeing Rage Against the Machine. I think in like 1990,
peak
Rage, 1999. I would have been a senior in high school, and I saw them at a place in Massachusetts. I think Lupe's it's called. And the whole floor, I've never seen a mosh pit where the whole floor is a mosh pit for like an hour and a half straight.
I can't imagine the drops for them because their drops are heavy.
Super heavy. And there was like, normally there's a mosh pit and there's like people that stand on the outside and they're like, okay, I'm going to stand here and push people. There was like no safety net in this Rage show. Like you could not escape the mosh pit. And so that was pretty crazy. That was 1999 Rage, I want to say.
Ricky, favorite concert. Who have you seen? I know you've seen Dave Matthews a million times.
But I think my favorite would be Muse. Remember when we went? So we got, dude, not only are they so good live, but we got, I guess it was your sister-in-law back in the day?
It was my sister-in-law
back then.
At the time, yes.
At the time. She literally ran up to us. We were a little high. She had not backstage, but like seats to go to the front row. She just pulled us out, and we went as we were running down. Knights of Sidonia was playing, and we're just running. I'm like, dude, this is the best thing ever.
That's funny because the Knights of Sidonia is like during
while
we're running.
We're just charging it. We're like, oh shoot.
Do you guys like Muse? You know Muse?
I like Muse.
You know,
I've
Muse?
seen him in
I don't-
concert
I don't know them.
before.
Okay.
I do like
Sorry.
Muse. Muse is good.
Yeah, we were big. It's funny. I actually found Muse before they got big because I was in your neighborhood and I remember I was skating and there was a CD on the floor and I just picked it up and it was a burned copy of this band named Muse and they weren't big yet. And I put it in the CD player at your house and I was like, dude, this band's rad.
Yeah.
And they kill it live. Matthew Bellamy, the guitarist and singer, is
So good.
unbelievably unique.
I always feel like that's the best is when you're like one of the first people to hear a band before they blow up.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you're like linked
Yeah.
to that band.
Yeah, because it's the worst when you find them when they're peak hype because then everyone's like, okay, way to go.
You hopped on the bandwagon.
Like, oh, I could have sworn.
I saw System of a Down. You guys know System
Oh,
of a
yeah.
Down. System of a Down and Slipknot at like a tiny little venue in Massachusetts before they had blown up. So I always
That
felt
probably-
linked to them.
Those small venues are such a good experience too. It feels like so intimate, like with the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was like 1 year before they blew up, right?
I
It's like
always-
the next year they go huge.
I always think about being the people that saw like the Beatles. Like imagine
so
seeing
cool.
the Beatles at a little club and having no idea that I'm not sure the exact number, but I think they were rejected by something like 7 studios. Imagine
Wow.
being one of those studios who's
God.
like, yep, we rejected the Beatles. Like you could have had the #1 band in history, but it'd be weird
Crazy.
to see them. Ben, do you even go to concerts?
So I'm not too big of a concert guy. I
Is
kind
that
of
bad that I assume just looking at you like, you don't go to concerts?
you know, like I get anxiety with like big crowds of people, and so like I kind of struggle with that. But I would say the kind of concerts I would like to go to are like trance music. It's kind of different, right?
God, like EDM and
Yeah, like I have been to a Metallica concert before. I went to Garth Brooks even because I was dating a girl who was into country. At the time. Yeah, so Samantha, my girlfriend, and we went to, I think it was Above and Beyond. So that's like my favorite trance band, I guess you could say.
I thought you were telling us like you went to Bed Bath and Beyond or something. That's cool.
But so this was in Long Beach, like about, I don't know, 6 years ago.
Okay.
But my girlfriend got into a fight, dude.
Sweet.
Nice. She win?
Yeah, some like punk kid was messing with her, and she freaking headbutted the guy.
Wow.
Dude, he was getting all in her face, and she was just like, boom. And then like he backed off, and then like things got out of hand, and then his crew came over to us, and
But she's a pretty tough girl though,
she's
right?
a double black belt in Hapkido.
And she was a wrestler at one point too.
She was a
right?
wrestler in the 90s, bro.
Could you think you?
what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, could you take her, dude?
I am stronger than her,
You're a very strong guy.
but like
She could take me.
she could probably kick my butt, bro.
Just suplexes you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like she knows the moves, right?
She really went, come on, Ben,
Ben's
give me
been
a
suplexed before.
Were you there when the fight was going on?
I was right there.
But you didn't. You felt like you didn't even have to do anything because she had it under control.
So it all happened so quick. Like it wasn't like a full on fight. It was like he was getting in her face and she wasn't having it, and she freaking headbutted the
Good for her.
Headbutt's a big move.
Yeah,
Dude, that's
Headbutt from a
gnarly.
chick.
dude's like
I feel like
probably
both people
28,
lose.
you know, and Samantha is older than me, but she ain't gonna take it.
Yeah.
She'll give it right back.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I saw who have I seen? The big bands that I think I've seen Paul McCartney twice.
Nice.
Which was huge for me. That was like
Seen him.
kind of like a living legend moment. I feel like there's very few bands where they're like that next level legend status. I feel like I'd be like seeing like Elvis or like the Beatles, maybe Led Zeppelin. I'm trying to think who are like the biggest legends of all time. I don't know who else would that be.
Metallica
Boogies.
for me kind of goes into that next level.
Who'd you say, Ricky?
Who did you say? Lace Boogies?
I heard you say something about
You
boobies.
say banda?
Lace Boobies?
I like boobies.
I just did a Spanish band just for the heck of it. I said, Los Bookies.
Yes, Ricky. So for you, Metallica would be one of those like legendary style.
I put them up there.
Okay.
I'll even put Metallica up there with the Beatles. Like I really do. I feel
Wow,
like
okay,
they're
That's
that
going a little
category.
insane.
I do. Put them up there.
So I saw this band recently. There was this band that I listened to a lot called Surfaces, and they're like very chill hop, vibey, beachy, but I don't know, very they're very popular right now, and they kind of blew up. And I was listening to them for a long time, and funny enough, my kids like really love them, which is, I was trying to see what like teenagers like and stuff. My kids are in high school. And I found this Christian artist named Forrest Frank, and I was like, man, this guy's really good. Like, I feel like he's not like what Christian music feels like. So I like kind of fell into this, like in love with this style of music, and I was like, this is cool. And my kids were listening to Surfaces in the other room, and I was like, these guys sound so much alike. And I Googled it, and I'm like, it's the same guy. He left his secular band to make his own Christian band. So recently I went to go see him at the Honda Center, and I went with my kids and my family and my wife, and it was one of the coolest concerts I've ever been to in my life. And I've seen a lot of people. It was just, when you see a band and like they sound as good or better than studio, like the atmosphere was right. Oh, generational, huge. You mentioned generational. It's Christian. So kids want to go because he's like cool for being a Christian artist. It doesn't, I mean, I don't have to notice it.
No,
yeah, you actually are a huge fan of him.
Yeah, no, I literally was like, Rip, are you listening to this guy yet? Like, he's pretty dope. Like,
you sent us videos at that concert, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, his videos, they don't feel like
that was wild. It was
worshipy music, but
cool.
they are, which is cool. One of my favorite things, he started the concert and he's like, pause, like you're going to see a lot of lights, you're going to see a lot of sounds, you're going to hear a lot of music, but none of this is about us. He's like, all this music is for Jesus. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And the coolest thing for me, too, is like, I take my kids to shows and things, and I see them bobbing and raising their hands like this and stuff. But I'm like, man, if I see my kids raising their hand to one person, I want it to be Jesus. So seeing them do that, I was like, man, this is a cool moment, like being at that concert. So I was like super hyped on it. Like I went out of there with like crazy level respect for him. And to be honest, especially because the music just didn't feel cringy, Christian-y. My brother, Adam, who will admit he's not a follower, and he's usually pretty like push office with Christian stuff. And the other day he was in my car, and I had that music on. He was like, dude, this is so good. What is this? And I was like, yeah, it's this cool band, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you should put it on your playlist. Didn't tell him it was Christian music. So I was like, yeah, man, right on. So that was probably my most recent like good concert that I felt like really hyped for. Dave Matthews, I mean, we'd be stupid not to mention.
Yeah, he's good.
We've seen him probably 8-9 times.
Yeah,
our most seen band.
That's a lot.
My brother's a Dave head, which if you don't know, that's like a Dave follower, someone who's always going to the concerts constantly.
He hasn't done concerts in a long time, though. I feel like it's been
Ricky
years.
saw him during COVID.
I saw him during COVID
when you had to give him your fake vaccination records.
I had a
dude.
What? No, I didn't hear anything.
Dude, that era of things was crazy.
Dave?
No, just the like trying to go to music like events.
Oh, it was crazy, dude.
Yeah, like because I was a big like rave head at the time, and one of the things that I had to deal with was like drive-in concerts, right?
Whoa.
And they'd put you in a parking spot where you would have to basically you couldn't bring in anything outside food, so they would search your entire car, and if it had anything, they would throw it out. Of course, people are trying to sneak in like drinks and things like that and snacks, but they were pretty much closing the market.
It's a rave. We know what they're sneaking in.
Right? They were trying to do that,
it's
and
not just alcohol.
They were just rolling down each car to have a trash can, and they would just throw everything out.
Wow.
And then once you were able to throw everything out, you can go to your parking spot, and then basically you had to be like 6 feet on each side of each car.
You could get out of the car and
get out of the car, and
holy moly, that's
you had
crazy.
but a group of friends. It was.
Why would you go to the...
Honestly, dude, anything at that time to get out of the house.
Chris is in his car.
Yo, you gotta roll up your window.
And then I had the return of EDC in 2019, and 175,000 people went to that event.
Shoot.
And that was like,
whoa!
I think it was 2019. That's when COVID was like
not yet.
Yeah, whatever it was, and it was crazy. Dude.
That's Electronic Daisy Carnival?
Yeah.
That's in Vegas?
Yeah, it was 175,000.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I think it was 2019 or 20. I can't even remember.
I think when I was at Lollapalooza, we went, which is in Chicago now. It used to be all over, but Lollapalooza, there was Paul McCartney was playing, Metallica, and
Smashing Pumpkins.
Florence and the Machine.
Yeah.
You know Florence and the
Dog
Machine?
days are over.
Yeah.
And talk about an amazing concert. There was lightning coming over. It's like Lollapalooza is on the park on the lake, whatever lake that is in Chicago, right? Big big lake.
Yeah, Lake Chicago.
Lake Chicago.
Ben, what is it?
Lake Michigan.
Lake Michigan.
There we
Thank
go.
you. And there was lightning coming over the horizon, and then Florence and the Machine came on, and it was like everybody's hair was standing on end. It was a pretty magical
Cool,
experience.
man.
And I don't know if it was the lightning or her singing.
It was the dark days. They were over.
Yeah, dark days are over.
It's
Whatever.
dog days.
Dog days.
Yeah.
But there was 300,000 people at that show. I believe it was
Dang,
300,000.
dang.
And looking at a sea of 300,000 people was
Crazy.
yeah, it was so crazy how many people that is when you see it.
Whoa.
Like it was never ending, just bodies. Yeah.
Ricky mentioned earlier rolling up your window. I have a random funny story. When I was working at one of my jobs, we were given pepper spray for our jobs. And my buddy, I'm not going to say what job, he rolls up next to me in his car at a red light, and I have my pepper spray in my hand. And I was like waving him, like his name is Arns. And I'm like, hey. And I was going to spray him as hard as I could with the pepper spray. And I went to go do it, and I was like, Arns, roll down your window, give him the sign. So he rolls down his window, and he's like, huh? And he puts his face like this, and I turn and I spray the spray as hard as I can, and I realize my window's up. No. And it just goes right like at my face at a red light, just freaking black pepper maced myself
Oh my
as hard
God.
as I can, dude. I was struggling for like a good hour and a half, pulled over, had to call my boss. I'm like, it went off on accident. I can't see. I'm so sorry. But, just felt a little stupid.
That's like there's laws around using that, and like like you can't just spray it at any time. Like you have to be in danger and all that.
I was in danger.